Hey, yo, what is up, everybody? This is Coach Chad, the CEO of the Next Level Coaching Academy and the creator of the Fit CEO podcast. Happy New Year. It's 2023. How freaking crazy is that? All right, y'all, we're gonna dive right in very Chad fashion, just getting right to the point here. So what we're going to be talking about today is NLCA's recognition program for our clients. So every single month we send out a culture review survey, and in that survey, we ask our staff members to rate a bunch of different things about our company, but more specifically, the rating that stands out to me is we asked them to give us an overall culture rating. Now, this year, our average culture rating was over 90%. 90% people ranked our culture internally in NLCA. And I think there's many different reasons on why that may be. But I think one of probably the top three reasons why we get continued really good internal reviews on our culture is our ability to recognize people for their work. And we have a specific recognition program in place for our leadership team that they have to follow on a weekly basis, meaning there's a specific cadence in which our leadership team actually has to recognize members of our community and our staff internally. What I'm going to go over in this podcast is exactly that. I'm going to go over our exact recognition program, and this is something that I highly encourage you to implement inside of your company. And if you're noticing that maybe your culture isn't where you want it to be, or individuals aren't doing the things that you want them to do. Individuals are complaining a lot about pay or complaining a lot about not being recognized. This is definitely the solution. And there was a study, the reason I created this recognition program for NLCA is there's a study out there that says that some staff members like to be recognized more than getting a pay increase or a promotion. Now, I'm not saying that this replaces pay increases and promotions. It certainly does not. But if you want to have a staff that feels valued, if you want to have a staff that feels like their work is meaningful, then you should definitely 100% have a recognition program in place. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. One other thing, actually, I forgot to mention, one other thing that I really like about recognition programs as well is they reinforce behavior. So if there are specific things that you want your staff member to do more of, you need to shout out the individuals that are actually doing those things. So there are really two main benefits of having a really good recognition program. One is your staff is going to report that they really enjoy your culture, which is important for longevity. Also, it's important for production. It's important for how they treat the clients. It's important for revenue. It's important for a multitude of different things. The second reason that you want to have a recognition program is so that you can reinforce the behaviors and the values that you want your company to represent. This way you create a culture when new people step in, they see the culture that's already been built, and then they just follow suit. All right, let's dive into the recognition program. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 different ways that we recognize our staff. All right. So way number one is very simple. It's private recognition. All right. So it's no public praise. It's nothing like that. It's private recognition. All right. It's reaching out to the individual in a one-to-one capacity and shouting them out for what you want to shout them out for. And at the end of this podcast, I'm going to go over specifically what we shout staff members out for. But first, I'm just going to go over the 6 different ways in which we do it. All right. So way number one is private recognition. Way number 2 is staff to staff recognition. So what this one means is essentially you are shouting out a staff member in front of the rest of the staff members. This can happen on meetings. This can happen in your community chats. We do it in both. We have a full team, a full team chat for NLCA with all of our staff members in there. And we definitely use that to shout out individuals. Also, we have every single meeting has a section in which we shout out individuals as well. So predominantly I hang out on the sales team meeting, and we have a very specific section before we go over anything for the meeting in which we recognize and shout out staff members. And I know for every single department in our company, they have that section where it's staff recognition or staff shout outs. And it's just a quick, 5-minute segment in which the leader of the department will shout out other individuals. All right. So the second way that you could shout out individuals is staff in front of staff. So shouting out a specific staff member or a combination of staff members or a whole entire department in front of the rest of the team. Okay. The third way that we recognize individuals is staff to client. All right. So shouting out an individual or shouting out a staff member in front of the client base. All right. So going into your client community, maybe on a client call, maybe in a client WhatsApp chat, however you facilitate your client community, and shouting out a staff member in front of the client. All right. Typically, this is going to look like a coach, right? So if you have a particular coach who did something that you want to recognize or hit a milestone or anything of that nature, you could shout that individual out to the client base. All right. So that's number 3. Number 4 is public shout outs. Whoops, sorry, I got an email. Number 4 is public shout outs. All right. So what public shout outs means is you are shouting out the staff member to the public. All right. In the context of online coaching, this is going to look like shouting out the staff member on your Instagram story or on your Facebook page or any sort of social media where you're shouting it out to the public audience, right? You're not shouting out to the client base. You're not shouting it out to the staff. You're not shouting it out to a specific group of individuals. You're just publicly shouting this individual out to the masses. All right. And that would, like I said, look like shouting that individual out on your social media. All right. So that's the 4th way that you can shout individuals out. All right. The 5th way to shout, this isn't a particular individual, but the 5th way that we do shout outs internally is program or client results to the company. All right. So this isn't shouting out a staff member. This is actually shouting out either a specific program result or a specific client result to the company. This one is extremely, extremely important. The reason it's important is, when your staff can get caught up in the day-to-day, right? If they're a VA, a DMer, a closer, whatever their role is, honestly, they can get caught up in the day-to-day and they forget the reason why they're here in the first place, which if you own a coaching company is to service the clients, is to solve a particular problem. That's the purpose of your program, right? So it's very important to make sure that we are recognizing this by shouting out either a particular result that your program created or a particular client and the result that they got. And you want to continuously shout this out to your staff and recognize those components, because not only, like I said, will it remind them of why they're here in the first place, but it also will build their conviction towards the cause. All right. If your staff members are very convicted towards the cause, meaning they are bought in on the problem that you are solving, they are going to work 10 times harder than the individual who's just trying to clock in and clock out. All right. So always, 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 always make sure that you are finding opportunities to shout out the program results and the clients. On our sales meetings, what we do is we literally pull up testimonials and we'll share our screen and we'll play the testimonials in front of the staff, so that once again they can hear it from the client. They can hear the results that they are creating, right? They sold these individuals, they booked their calls, right? So they need to hear the results that their hard work and effort is creating for other individuals. Spent a lot of time on that one. You can tell that one's important. All right. So that's the 5th one. And then the 6th one, that your recognition program is working really, really well if this is happening. All right. And this is the 6th and final one. And this is staff members shouting out other staff members. All right. Like I said, that you've created a really awesome culture, a culture that recognizes people for the work that they do when other staff members are shouting out other staff members. The reason that you can say like, yes, we freaking did it. Our recognition program is working, is because everything stems from you, right? Everything stems from the CEO. So if you are creating if you are shouting out all these individuals and you are creating this environment where it's okay to recognize other people, your other staff members are going to follow suit. So like I said, when they start doing it, that you have started to create a culture that resembles this recognition. Okay, so that's the 6th and final one, staff members shouting out other staff members. And this can happen in many mediums. It can happen on a coaching call. It can happen on a meeting. It can happen in a WhatsApp chat or a company chat. It can happen in any medium, but all you're looking for here is staff members shouting out staff members. All right, those are the 6 different ways that we recognize individuals, okay? The last piece that I need to tie in before we wrap up this podcast today is, what should you recognize for? All right, I'm going to tie in the second point that I made. All right, so the second point that I made is recognition is great for making people feel heard. It's great for creating a high-level company culture, but it's also really good for reinforcing behaviors that you want people to model. Because if you are saying, hey, I'm going to recognize this individual for doing X, Y, Z, what you're really saying is the behavior that I'm recognizing them for is what is going to get you shouted out, right? Everybody wants to be recognized. Everybody wants that attention, right? So if they see that you are shouting this individual out for XYZ behavior, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to do XYZ behavior so they get recognized as well. So it's a huge, huge, huge leadership tool to reinforce behaviors that you want your company culture to embody. All right, let's go ahead and go through my list here. So the first thing that we'll shout individuals out is for them embodying our company tenets. So our company tenets are act first, mission first, and truth first. Act first means taking action, regardless if you don't have all the answers, you're just going to go for it. Truth first means always speaking your truth and equally being able to receive others' truth. And mission first means don't make selfish decisions. Make decisions that are in benefit of the overall mission, not just self-serving. All right, so when individuals embody these tenets, we will recognize in the 6 different ways that I just taught, we will recognize them for doing so. Once again, what do you think this does? Reinforces that the tenets are important. All right, number 2, overall morale, values, behavior. So things outside of just your tenets, right? Your tenets are really just your 3 core values, but there's other things that are important to you as well, right? So if somebody does a behavior, or if somebody does or executes a particular value that you think is important, maybe they were really detail oriented in a project, or maybe they helped out a client in a way that they didn't really have to do. Like they went out of their way to go help a client do whatever, XYZ, right? Recognizing those behaviors is equally as important as recognizing the tenets. All right, number 3, implementing feedback. So if you have a staff member that you gave them feedback on something and they took it and implemented it and got the result, right? You're going to want to recognize that. The reason you're going to want to recognize that is now that individual who took the feedback and is implementing it will know, like, hey, all right, cool, I did the right thing. But if you recognize this to the masses, if you recognize this to the rest of your staff, now they know that they should also be implementing that feedback, and you didn't have to give it to them directly. You indirectly gave it to them through the shout out itself. Very powerful. All right. Next one here is KPIs. All right, so if you have staff members that are continuously hitting KPIs, what do you think that reinforces? That reinforces that those KPIs are important and that the other staff members should be focused on hitting those KPIs as well. All right, the next thing that we shout individuals out is just overall results. So overall results outside of KPIs, right? KPIs are your key performance indicators. They're the things that matter the most, right? If you do anything, make sure you hit these, but there are other results that need to be driven as well. So making sure that you're recognizing the results that you think are important to achieve. All right, company records. So if any staff member, achieves a company milestone or a company record, you're going to want to shout that out. And then the last one, and probably my most favorite one, is shouting individuals out who get promotions or pay increases. All right, so if anybody gets a pay increase or a promotion, you want to shout that individual out. And then if you want to be like absolute savage mode, you should also recognize why they got the pay increase or why they got the promotion. Hey, and this is what this would look like. Hey, everybody join me in celebrating so-and-so for getting this promotion. The reason they're getting this promotion is they boom, 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 right? You guys can have this opportunity too. Now, what do you think other people are going to do? They're going to embody those things that got that individual the promotion. So it's going to raise the playing field in your company so that one day, hopefully, they can get that promotion too, or that pay increase too. This is the power of recognition. Like I said, this is probably one of the top 3 things we do that creates the kind of culture that we have, which continuously gets above a 90% score in our culture surveys. All right. So if you want to have a good culture, you need to have a good you need to have a good recognition program. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. If you did, as always, screenshot it out. Put it on your social media. I don't run any ads to the podcast. Everything is word of mouth. So leave a review. share it with a friend, whatever you got to do. Get the word out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.